lot of students have already joined. So let us start the discussion. And what I will do is, before starting the discussion, let me just quickly go through the questions once. I hope you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me just quickly go through the questions once, questions for midterm, and then we will jump into the discussion. By the way, have any of you tried to check the calculation for the previous problem? Means here last class on Monday we were solving a problem, right? And actually, because of lack of time, I hurriedly went through the problem. This problem was on twin spool turbofan engine. So did you try to check, or you should try to check the results? Hopefully the results are correct, means some calculation mistake might be there. Just check it once and also practice this problem, means on your own. It's a long problem, but this type of problems can be expected in the exam. Obviously marks will be very high for this type of problem, and there will be part questions. Maybe you have to find intermediate steps also, find the fuel air ratio, then find other things, turbine exit temperature, things like that. Step by step marking will be there, but you should try to do it. Anybody has tried to check the results? Ujjwal is there.
I'll check it, sir. I'll tell you in the next class.
Okay, check it. Okay. Others also please try on your own. Sanjay, you are also there. Try on your own. Others also please try. Jishnu. Okay. Try to check it. Not for checking, basically just for actually trying. Otherwise, uh, you will not be able to consolidate the material. You will just go through the motions. But parallelly, it will also help me by checking the results. So anyway, let us continue our discussion. We were discussing about turbofan engines. Okay. And what we had discussed is that, like, what is the difference of turbofan with turbojet? Oh, sorry. Okay. I want to go through the questions once. Good point. I had forgotten. But actually, everyone got so high marks that almost everyone has answered correctly everything. Maybe some calculation. Some of you have, or many of you have made calculation mistakes, but fundamentally answers are correct, but there are calculation mistakes. So those actually I did not penalize much, means 1 or 2 marks maybe. Even if you make the mistakes at the beginning also, if your calculation is, if your procedure is correct up to the end, but the calculation is wrong at the beginning step, then all the answers, intermediate answers will be wrong. But still I have deducted only maybe 1 mark or two marks for calculation mistakes. But I have even deducted 1 mark this time because marks are so high for if you have not given accurate results. So draw the TS and PV diagrams for the following cycles: ideal Brayton cycle with reheat and regeneration, ideal Brayton cycle with intercooling. So I hope, I think everybody has almost, like 1 or 2 students have made mistakes here, but almost everybody has got this correct. It is there in the notes also. So if you go to the notes, I can remember which one. I think okay, this is with regeneration. What did I give? With regeneration and reheat and with intercooling. Okay. So let me see whether I have it here. With reheat. So maybe the next one. So this was with reheat and regeneration. You have to show this 0.7 and 8 also. Means what is the regenerator exit point 7, and in this side, on the other side, gas side, what is the regenerator exit point 8. Okay. Although you cannot locate where exactly is this point, this has to be shown on the 2, 3 and 6, 1 lines. And the second thing you have to be careful about is that this 0.2 should be lower than 0.6. Okay, otherwise there cannot be any regeneration. 1 or 2 students have made a mistake like this. Their 0.2 is very high and 6 is low, and then they have drawn a somewhat like a slanted line somehow to manage that. But Temperature at 2 has to be less than temperature at 6, otherwise regeneration cannot work. Otherwise, there is not much problem. And these lines also, although not deducted any marks, but draw it somewhat more carefully. Many of you have done very good, but some students are very, means just almost like a vertical line they draw. But this is a gas, right? Ideal gas. So accordingly, so if pressure is changing, specific volume is also going to change. It is not like it is going to be a vertical line almost, but still it is okay. But you should be more careful. These lines also should be quite slanted. But those are minor things. I did not deduct marks. I'm just saying so that you know how to do it correctly. Almost everyone had got full marks in that question. Then what is the next question? State what happens. Just you have to state. You don't have to elaborate on this. If I want you to explain, I will say explain why this happens, or state and explain, or state what happens, and then I will say that also explain in one line, something like that will be there. If I say that state what happens to the efficiency and non-dimensional specific work output of a simple ideal gas turbine for a given ratio, you just have to state. You can just, this is happening. You don't have to give elaborate. It is okay if you give, but it is like you are wasting some time, which can be used for other purposes, like solving problems. If I ask you to state, you just state what is happening. So, for example, if a regenerator is added, we know that based on our discussion, we have discussed this multiple times in the class. Efficiency increases because that is the main purpose of the regenerator, to increase the efficiency. Work output remains same, but the heat input is reduced. As a result, efficiency increases. And what happens to the non-dimensional net specific work output? It does not change. Okay, almost all of you again have got this correctly. 1 mark for each answer. One for the efficiency, one for non-dimensional specific work output. Similarly, in this case, 2 marks for each of the graphs. 2 for TS diagram, 2 for PV diagram. Then second one, 2 for TS diagram, 2 for PV diagram. When an intercooler is added to the plant, we know that intercooler, the main role is to increase the work output. That is why intercooler or reheater is added. So obviously the work output will increase. But as a side effect, we have discussed, and I have shown also plots in the class. The work out efficiency is slightly reduced. So efficiency gets reduced when you add the intercooler. Why is the number of turbo stages? Actually, many of you have explained, but not fully. You have to explain in full. Means we have discussed in the class. So many of you have written partially that there is adverse pressure gradient in the compressor stages, while in the turbine stages we have favorable pressure gradient. That is correct. So in the turbine stages, we have a favorable pressure gradient because the flow is going from high pressure to low pressure. In the compressor stages, we have an adverse pressure gradient because the flow is going from low pressure to high pressure. As a result, what happens is that if you try to increase the pressure ratio for a single stage, if you try to have a large pressure ratio for a single stage, then the difference in pressure between the inlet and outlet is quite high. Means you have a large adverse pressure gradient in that case, and chances of separation actually increases significantly in those cases. So what we do is we divide the total pressure ratio into large number of small stages, small pressure ratio, so that each stage has a small delta P, means small adverse pressure gradient, so that chances of separation is less. And for turbine, this is not required. So there is no issue. So if you have partially explained it, I have given 1 mark, or if it is almost close to the correct answer, maybe 1.5 marks. If it is gone to mostly correct answer, then I have given full marks. Some students I think off to give 0. Means if you write something polytropic efficiency, some students have written like this, that polytropic efficiency of turbine is more, polytropic efficiency of compressor is less, something like that. that is not relevant here. State the main differences between ideal and real gas turbine cycles. We have discussed in the class. Just again, very simple question. But you should mention all the points that are discussed in the class. So let me see where it is. Not here. Already polytropic efficiency. Huh? These points. Okay. 8 points are there. 4 marks are there. So supposed to answer all the different aspects because all of them are important. Okay, some of you have written 1 or 2 points. Some have repeatedly written the same point in different ways. Means that compression and expansion processes are irreversible. Then another point is there later on that in real cycle there is increase in entropy. Okay, so it's the same thing. These are the same things. Okay, this is a single point. So again, there is 4 marks for the 8 points. Accordingly, I have given marks depending on how many you have got correctly. But depending on, it's not only about the number of points you have mentioned. I have carefully checked whether you have actually given this point separate points or not, or it's just a repetition. Some of you, many of you have answered 3-4 points. So accordingly, you have got 2 marks or 2.5 marks. Define the polytropic efficiency of a compressor and what is its importance. Okay. So are you guys able to hear me? Because it feels like I'm speaking only in a blank.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So define the polytropic efficiency. We have already defined it in the class. We have to mention. So if I go to the polytropic efficiency definition, this is not the definition of polytropic efficiency. Some guys have drawn this. Okay, that for single stage this happens, multi-stage this happens. The definition of polytropic efficiency was given here. So basically, it's the isentropic efficiency of a very small stage or a very elemental stage. You can write a very small stage. You don't have to obviously write word by word. I'm not. You just have to show that you understand the meaning. So the important point here is that this is a very small stage, such that the efficiency remains constant throughout the process. Okay. So that point is important, such that it remains constant throughout the process. That's why we are using this polytropic efficiency, right? Because it should remain. So we are defining it in such a way so that even if we don't take it here, we take it at some other point, like very near to 1, then also it should remain constant. So wherever we take this small stage, it should remain constant. So that you have to mention. It's not only the isentropic efficiency of a small stage, it is the isentropic efficiency of a small stage such that it remains constant throughout the process. Okay. And what is the significance of this? So again, many of you have not been able to totally write it. Some of you have written correctly. Significance is not only that it gives us the efficiency, okay, of the overall process. So even if you have written that, I have given marks, even if you have written that, because the overall efficiency of a process changes with change in pressure ratio, polytropic efficiency can give us an idea about what is the actual efficiency. Something like that, if you have written, I have given full marks. But if you just write that, it is means it is needed for getting the actual efficiency, then it is not correct. Okay, so the main importance is that because this process, this is independent of the pressure ratio. So it is basically independent of whether you have large number of compressor stages or small number of compressor stages or anything like that, whether the compression process is large or small. It is just a function of the manufacturing process or manufacturing say quality or surface finish, things like those. Okay, so for a certain plant, it gives us an idea about what is the means. Basically, you can write that this is the main significance is that it is independent of the overall pressure ratio and only depends on the manufacturing quality or surface finish quality and independent of the design parameters. Okay. 1 mark was there, so 1.5 or something like that. If you got again, if you have not written it, then you have only got 1 mark for the polytrophic efficiency part. Many of you have correctly answered. Consider a gas turbine. Then there are 3 problems. Okay, problems were not very difficult ones, but only the thing is that your values are defined for each of you, so that the answers are defined for each of you, and you should accurately calculate the answer. Okay, so you have the pressure ratio of the compressor as R is equal to 2 plus x by 3. So depending on what is the last digit of your roll number. Last digit. So 1 or 2 students have taken 2 digits. Last digit means last digit. Okay, final digit, not 2 digits. It is clearly written that last digit of your roll number. 13 means if your roll number ends with 13, it is not 13. You have to take 3. Okay. So 2 plus 3 by 3, R will become equal to 3. Then inlet pressure and temperature for the compressor is given. So in that case, what happens, and if an ideal regenerator is added to the system, efficiency becomes twice. So from this, you can just calculate. I'm not going into the details. Okay, it is very easy to calculate. Determine the turbine inlet temperature and net specific work output. So the results are. Someone's mic is on. Do you want to ask something or? Where is it? So depending on your roll number, we have defined turbine inlet temperature starting from say 570.8 if your roll number ends with 0, then 670.5. If let me just change the format. You have to be more accurate. So 570.8144, then 670.500. Similarly, all the other values are there. If you want to check the answer, you can take a look at the video later on. Means because and just pause it here, so you will be able to see the values. Okay. Finally, those who have roll numbers ending with 9, for them it is 1808.219 Kelvin. And what was the other question here? Determine the turbine inlet temperature, net specific work output. Okay, net specific work output for this. Not the non-dimensional net specific work output. Okay, so you have to multiply the non-dimensional net specific work output by CPT1 in case you are calculating the non-dimensional net specific work output, or you can directly calculate the net specific work output. Net specific work output and non-dimensional net specific work output is different. Okay, so net specific work output you will have in the range of I think it is starting from 370.353 going to 493.847, something like that. Okay, and non-dimensional values are also here, but I am looking for the dimensional values. All the other things also I have checked in between, like whether you have got the temperature ratio correctly or not, then efficiency of the normal cycle and efficiency of the regenerative cycle, things like that can be checked for every student. Then otherwise the problem is very straightforward. Okay, you can see that it's such a short problem. Then almost most of you have got it correctly. Maybe some minor calculation mistake is there, but as I have said, even minor calculation mistakes, here I may be deducting 1 or 2 marks, but there are many professors who will deduct almost half of the marks, and that is reasonable because in real life you cannot make small mistakes because your entire design can fail in that case. If you make a small mistake when you are calculating actual turbine, designing a turbine, the turbine may fail catastrophically and may become a big problem. Or if you are a civil engineer, you construct a bridge with a wrong design and make some simple calculation mistake and nobody notices, it can happen. I have told also, I think previously, that one of the Mars orbiters of NASA was actually lost because of this type of very small calculation mistake. What they had done, they were working with their contractors, Lockheed Martin. So some part of the work was done in Lockheed Martin, and some part was done in NASA. And one team was working using SI unit, one was working using Imperial units, British units, and there was some calculation mistake. They did not calculate correctly. That changed from SI, or that from Imperial units to SI units, and as a result, it's very costly. It was a very costly loss, means in terms of money. That orbiter, which was supposed to orbit around Mars, actually got lost, crashed into the surface. So it's actually interesting story, because this type of very small mistakes can lead to hundreds of $1 million of losses. But in this case, I have deducted 1 or 2 marks only, depending on the calculation mistake. So if we go to problem 4, two problems are very simple. This is, you can say, slightly tricky in case you don't understand totally, but other two problems are just straightforward. Polytropic efficiency of a compressor is 90 minus y, where y is the last digit of your IIT Bhubaneswar roll number. Compressor pressure ratio is 10. Determine the polytropic exponent for this process and isentropic efficiency of the compressor. Okay, you should. I have given full marks even if you have just jumped from the equation. But in general, I always suggest that don't try to memorize the equation, but try to actually derive the equation from first principle, so that there is no mistake. Okay, sometimes while writing the equation, you may get wrong. Something like some term may change. So, for example, where is the relation? Somebody may interchange that gamma minus 1 by gamma, instead of that they may write gamma by gamma minus 1 into n minus 1 by n. This type of things has happened, but mostly it is correct for everyone. So we can use this and you can get the polytropic exponent n. I think that was the question, right? Get the polytropic exponent n. Okay, so efficiency is given, polytropic efficiency, depending on your roll number, and compressor pressure ratio is given. Okay. So based on polytropic efficiency, you can get polytropic exponent, and based on compressor pressure ratio, using this relation, basically, again, it is better if you derive it, but many of you have just jumped like this. It is not the correct approach, but using this, you can get the, you know what is the polytropic efficiency and compressor pressure ratio, you can get the isentropic efficiency of the overall process. But next time onward, please try to derive and solve. Okay, that's why the marks is given as 12 marks. Otherwise, it's not a matter of just writing one line and solving, trying to memorize it or copying from the notes. That is not the correct approach. You will not learn anything in that way. So this again results, if I see, it's just a one-step process anyway. You can also check the results, but if you want to see. So these are the polytropic exponents. If your roll number ends with 0, it is 1.465, and continuing till 1.544, basically it will become 545. Okay, 5450. If your roll number ends with 9. And these are the overall efficiency of the compressor. Starts from 86.4066% and goes on till 74.2860%, depending on the roll number. And the final question, again, very straightforward, just a one-line answer. Okay, most of you, I think, has got correctly. Where is the question? So air from a compressor enters the combustion chamber of an industrial turbine at pressure of 1000 kPa and temperature 580 kPa, Kelvin. Combustion products leave the combustion chamber at pressure and temperature of 980 kPa and 1380 Kelvin. Combustion efficiency is 98%. All the other values are given. You have to determine the calorific value of the fuel. So we can just use the expression. We should do the energy balance and use the expression. You should not jump again. But this time I have given full marks. But I expect that you should start from first principle. You do the energy balance and then derive the expression instead of just writing the expression in one line. You should not do that from next time onward. Okay. So the expression or the energy balance was given as I think it will be there in the next parts. So this one, okay, this is from the energy balance. You can calculate it from the energy balance as we have done in many problems and find the value of calorific value of the fuel. Based on if you have to take some reasonable value of F. Okay, all the other parameters are given except F. You have to take some reasonable value of F, and reasonable value can be say means air fuel ratio is 50. Some of you have taken, which is a reasonable value, means F is 0.02. The air fuel ratio can be 30 also, 40, 45, 60. Any of this is correct, but it cannot be 1000 or say it cannot be 1 or 2 or something like. I don't know, 1 or 2 students have done like that, taken 1 or 2, something like that. It cannot be like that. Okay, it has to be a reasonable value. And I deliberately have not given the value of F so that I know that you understand what are the practical values of F. Otherwise, it is very straightforward. Depending on the, I don't have the answers here. You can just calculate. I think I have individually. I have checked your answers by just somewhere it should be there. For some example should be there. Okay, so for example, if F is 0.02, the calorific value comes out as 52705.3469 kilojoule per kg. Okay, if F is some of you have taken say 40. Okay, so 40 means F is 0.025 or 1 by 40. In that case, the calorific value is 42487.592 kilojoule per kg. So this time it was simple. Next time the question will be slightly harder. Okay, but if you practice the problems that we are going through, you should be able to solve them correctly. Okay, particularly focus on the jet engine side, jet engines like turbojet, turbofan, and turboprops, because these are the most important aspects of our course. Any questions?
Sir, the ENSEM full marks is what, sir?
I don't know right now. Means we have not been given instruction. In general, in other years it is 100. Means typical distribution is 60, which is converted to 30. Means out of 30, so 30% weightage for midterm. 50% weightage is there for ENSEM typically, and 20% is for assignments and stuff like that. Means teaching assignment,
If it is 100,
attendance,
the
or
time
whatever.
will be more, no, sir, given in.
That should be the case, but last semester, the old students know that it was only 60 marks in the last semester because it was online exam, and taking a 3 hour or 3.5 hour online exam is difficult for even for the invigilator and for the student also, and it takes also a lot of internet issues are more. So last time it was 2 hours, even the final exam also. But this time I don't know what they will do. Means we don't know the decision. Centrally they will
Last time
decide.
it was
Department.
60.
Last time it was 60. Or old students know. Like say for example the dual degree students who are there, for their exams it was last time is not for this course. I am saying that last online exam means when before you joined, the spring semester exams were there. Okay. So for example, for the dual degree students, they had the 8th semester exam. So it was 60 marks. It was supposed to be 100 marks, but because it was online, it was made 60 marks for them. Okay. And it was also the first time exams were being taken. So that issue was also there. So that's why it was kept low. I don't know what they will do. But when offline exams are taken in standard, it is 100 marks. And last time, actually, we accordingly adjusted the marks of mid-sem and end-sem. It was given to, means flexibility was given to us to whether to make the weightage 40-40 or something else, like increase the teaching assessment part, things like that. Okay. But not for gastronomy. Gastronomy course was not there in the last semester. It is there in the autumn semesters like this. So typically it should be 100 marks, but I don't know what they will do this time because there is huge syllabus there this time.
Sir,
Yes.
syllabus will be whole gas turbine syllabus, sir. Last time.
Mostly focus on this second half. Second half means whatever we have done. Can you switch off your mic? Mostly it will be from the means all the problems and major questions will be whatever we have discussed from after mid-sem. But one or two minor questions, minor means like say intuitive or this type of questions, like common sense type of questions can be there. Not diagrams of things like why this happens. Those are general questions. Those can be there from any part of the course. But in general, all the major questions and problems or everything will be there from the part we have discussed. So starting from the jet engines. Okay. But it is almost the major part of the syllabus also, because this time before the mid-sem very small part was done. It is the typically we finish up to turbojet or mid of turbofan before the mid-sem exam. So for the final exam we start from turbofan and go until the final exam, means towards the end. Okay.
So
Whatever
is all faculty do that, or sir, you specifically?
No, it is up to us. Most of the faculty may have a full syllabus, like it is depending on the faculty. Okay, you have to individually
We can
ask
discuss.
what they are.
We can ask them, no, sir, for
You can request them depending on the faculty. They may or may not answer. That is their prerogative.
Okay.
If it is up to not now, means towards the end, you can ask that, sir, whether we have to go through the full syllabus. Then it is up to them. They should answer, but we don't know. But for my course, I will tell you what should be the syllabus at the end. But typically it should be like this. So starting from the jet engines. Okay. And if it is only 60 marks, it will be very unfortunate. But because let us see. Let us see. In that case, maybe will increase the assignments. I will anyway give you to write some codes also. All have been submitted, but I was supposed to write, okay, maybe during the weekend I will upload. So you have to develop for the turbofan, like I've done for turbojet, you have to develop for turbofan performance characteristics and all this. I will give you in details, and then you have to interpret the results and write in bullet forms, write your interpretation, means what is happening, what do you understand. So this type of question here. I guess no question is there on the, I've gone through the details of the answer. Let us not waste much time. Just check the problem from the previous class and confirm to me. Hopefully it will be correct. But in case correction error, just let me know so that for the next batch I can correct. Okay, if I give the same problem. So what we have discussed is so any other questions? Let us continue. Okay, in that case. I will keep this also open to optimize. So this is today's note already uploaded, and I have also uploaded today problem set having 3 problems. Okay, just try to solve those problems. It is there in the file section. It is there in the file section of your. So there is a file section. If you go to gas turbines, all the class notes are there like this, and the slides are already uploaded for the entire course. Then we have the problem sets here. One was already uploaded, second one has been uploaded today. And I have also uploaded the code for the turbojet cases, that the performance characteristics for turbojets that I have shown. There are two codes. One is the variation with compression ratio, and second is the variation with turbine inlet temperature, because these are the two important parameters that we have discussed. We have already discussed. These are the two design parameters. So like this, you can just check them and go through them and run the cases in MATLAB. Try to understand, change some of the values, see how the performance characteristics change. It will give you an understanding about the plots that we have discussed for turbojets. For example, in turbojets we have discussed these plots. So how these are generated in real life, you will get an idea. When you run the code, you will see that your plots also look like this if you make the scales similar. Some variation may be there because this may be somewhat approximate, but you can, or maybe more things are there, but otherwise it is like this. So anyway, for turbofan, we have seen that there are major four parameters or design parameters. What are those? One is the compressor pressure ratio. Second is the fan pressure ratio. Third is the turbine inlet temperature, and fourth is the bypass ratio. Okay, bypass ratio was defined as the mass flow rate of air going through the cold section, outer annular region, divided by mass flow rate of air going through the hot section, which is the core region, which undergoes combustion. And we have solved a longish problem to actually see all the aspects of the turbofan engine, from the initial fan part and then continuing towards the compressor. Not this case. Our case was slightly different. We had the only diffuser I did not include, because diffuser you know how to tackle, but fan, compressor, and then pressure loss in the combustion chamber was there. Those combustion, so air calculation of air fuel ratio, then calculation of based on the first turbine which runs the compressor, and based on the second turbine which runs the fan, calculation of the outlet conditions, and finally checking whether the nozzle is choked or not for the hot nozzle, and finding the thrust based on that. And for the cold nozzle, so cold nozzle actually takes the air directly after the fan and exits it at a higher velocity. So checking it whether it is choked or not, and then finding the thrust. So that was the approach. So similar to turbojet, only difference is that some of the air gets directly bypassed, and you have two nozzles. Otherwise, it is similar in problems are similar in nature, somewhat longer, because you have to also take into account separate calculation for both the nozzles, and one more extra turbine may be there, okay, depending on the configuration. So as we were discussing in the previous class, there can be many different types of configurations, right? I have quickly discussed them. So there can be unmixed single spool configuration like this, where a single turbine runs both the compressor and the fan, and the exhaust gas are unmixed. Then we had another case where it is a two spool but still unmixed. So one turbine, the high pressure turbine runs the high pressure compressor, low pressure turbine runs the low pressure compressor and the fan. There can be another type of two spool unmixed engine, which we have solved in the problem, where the high pressure turbines runs the single compressor, or both the high pressure and low pressure compressor, and the low pressure turbines runs the fan only. Okay, that is the problem that we have solved. Three spool engines can be there. I will recommend some problems from the book. One is on three spool engine. It's a very long problem, but you can go through it to understand it better. Then another one was the mixed flow type. So all these previous ones are easy to solve, means similar. All the problems are anyway easy to solve, but all of them are similar in nature. Means you have to just go through the motions and find out what is the exhaust velocity from both the nozzles, and whether they also have pressure thrust or not, and then calculate the thrust. However, for the mixed flow type of cycle, mixed flow type of jet engines, turbofan engine. Okay, there you need to do something else. You have to do a energy balance where there is an adiabatic mixing. So the air which goes after the, which gets compressed slightly after the fan, goes and mixes with the exhaust gases from the turbine. Okay, depending on the type, it can be single spool or two spool. There can be one or two turbines, but after that, the hot gases from the turbine mixes with the air, that is cold air that is coming from this fan. And this mixing is adiabatic, not much heat loss occurs. We can consider it to be adiabatic, and then the total mixture actually gets exhausted through a single nozzle. This type of designs are not very common for passenger aircraft, but very common for military aircraft, where you want to put a afterburner after this. Okay, so if you want to put an afterburner after this, we have also discussed about afterburners in the previous class. What is an afterburner? You have a fuel injection, additional fuel injection after this, after the turbine exhaust, and because there is excess air that is present, combustion can be sustained, and you can go to very high temperature because there is no succeeding turbine, or like no downstream stages, turbine stages. So because there are no turbine blades or no moving parts, you can go to a very high temperature. As a result, you can generate huge amount of thrust, but at the cost of lower efficiency, lower fuel economy. So let us try to look at this, how we will tackle this mixed flow type of engine. Okay, I will just give you the basics of mixed flow type of engines. All the other parts are similar, just we will look at the what is the new part. Okay. So for the mixed flow, I have drawn for one particular type of engine where we have a two spool structure. It could have been a single spool structure also, means single turbine running both the compressor or and the fan. So depending on the configuration. Okay. If there are any questions, you can feel free to ask me. Okay. So in this configuration, we have a two spool structure where the high pressure turbines runs the compressor and the low pressure turbine runs the fan. And as I have described, the cold flow, most of it gets bypassed and goes outside. It may not be the most of it. For example, for military aircraft, bypass ratio is very small, maybe less than 1 also, 0.5 means only. So if hot gases are 66% of the total airflow, cold gases are 33% only. So 1/3 of the overall gases actually is flowing through the cold part for military aircraft. So it can happen to keep the frontal area small. Military aircraft, so that the engine or the frontal area of the aircraft is small. Military aircraft are designed in a different way, right? Typically, maybe the engine is inbuilt within the fuselage, means below the fuselage, or there can be different designs. So anyway, so if we see the states, different states. At the outside, we have the ambient condition A. Then after the diffuser, we have. So remember, these states are not zero. Although I always write 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6. Actual states are still the states 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I am writing the stagnation properties here, stagnation states. So there is, at the same point, you can write different temperature. You have two temperatures. One is the static temperature, one is the stagnation temperature. If we assume that kinetic energy means already is taken into account, then we just solve based on the stagnation properties. That's why we write in terms of 0, 1, 0, 2. But the actual state name is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. In our case, in this course, we are writing it like this, following this convention. So after the diffuser, we reach a stagnation state of 0, 1. Okay. Then 0, 2 after the fan, 0, 3 in the combustion chamber before the combustion chamber after the compressor, 0, 4 after the combustion process, 0, 5 and 0, 6 after the two turbine stages. So these hot gases at 0, 6 condition mixes with the cold air at 0, 2 condition. Okay, in this region to go to an intermediate state 0, 7. And finally, this mixed gases, the mixture actually exists from this through this nozzle at exit condition 8. Okay, this is the process. So all the other things are same, only one nozzle. That is the only difference, and the mixing. Other parts are calculations are exactly same. Okay. The only thing is that the mixing is there. So you have to find out the state 7, which you have not done for the previous problems. And once you have the state 7, you have to just follow the same procedure. All the other parts you have to solve similarly. So we'll not solve a problem for this, but we will take a look at how to solve a problem. Means what is the steps for solving a problem. So if we look, just take a look at the TS diagram. Just a second. Again, my throat is hurting very much. If we take a look at the TS diagram, okay, so from A to 01 is the diffusion process. I am also showing that isentropic process, which would have ended at 0A. So isentropic, we know that the temperature, stagnation temperature remains constant. I am just repeating it multiple times so that this part is clear to everyone. So T0A is equal to T01. So ultimately you reach a temperature T01, but the pressure is lower because of losses. We know how to calculate it if we are given an efficiency, diffuser efficiency, either isentropic efficiency or RAM efficiency. From 01 to 02, you can calculate based on the fan pressure ratio, okay, and isentropic efficiency of the fan. From 02 to 03, you can calculate this rate 03 based on the compressor pressure ratio and the isentropic efficiency of the compressor or polytropic efficiency, whatever is given. If the overall pressure ratio is given, instead of compressor pressure ratio, you can calculate the P03 directly from 01 condition, or you can calculate based on you can calculate the compressor pressure ratio from the overall pressure ratio and the fan pressure ratio. Okay, just one point I now remember, I forgot to mention when I was going through the questions. In the last question, in the combustion chamber, there was a pressure loss from say 1000 kPa to 980 kPa, something like that. So that does not play any role in the energy balance. Okay, that is just there as an information. Like in engineering, you have multiple data points. You have to just consider the important points that are relevant for your problem. So in that case, that does not play any role. Even if there is pressure loss, it does not change the energy balance. Energy balance is conserved because this adiabatic, means there is no outside heat source. Okay, only that energy in the fuel actually is converted to enthalpy, change in enthalpy. So that also you have to be careful. Okay. So anyway, let us come back to this. So from 03 to 04 is the combustion process. There may or may like, actually there will be pressure loss, but we may or may not consider in the problem. So from 04 to 05, turbine, high pressure turbine, you know how to, by this point, you know how to calculate this 05 point by equating this turbine outlet work to the compressor inlet work. Okay, by equating the turbine outlet work to the compressor inlet. Here it looks like, actually the diagram is not to scale, so it looks like the turbine outlet work is much less than the compressor inlet work, but actually the lines will be diverging. So this constant pressure line will go like this towards the upper region. So this line will also have similar height as this line. Okay, if Cp would have been same, delta T would have been same. Because the Cp is slightly higher here, the delta T is slightly lower, but not much lower than the delta T for the compressor. It is just based on the ratio of Cp. Okay, it's not like what the diagram is showing. Then from 05 to 06 is the second turbine stage, which is used for running the fan. Okay, it is designed in such a way so that this outlet pressure from the turbine is equal to the it's similar to the outlet pressure from the fan. Okay, designed in such a way so that otherwise, if it is not designed like that, there will be a jump in pressure here. Okay, and very vigorous mixing, but it is designed typically. There actually is a small pressure loss, pressure drop around 2 to 3% from P06 to P07. But in our course, we are going to ignore that. Okay, we'll assume that they are on the same constant pressure line. So as the P02. And then after mixing, this goes to the state 07, which is in between and 0.6 depending on the mass flow rate, and then from the in the pump nozzle to 0.8. Now 0.8 can be again at critical pressure or at ambient pressure depending on whether the nozzle is choked or not. That we have to again calculate. So the only new part here that we have to do is tell me.
Sir, if P06 is already known, it will be equal to P02. And then we have to equate the low pressure turbine work with fan work, not to get the temperature.
Yeah,
at P06.
I understand. Multiple information is there, you are saying, right? So it has to, when actually you are designing, it has to be such that you design in such a way that this has to be taken in such a way so that it is consistent with the fan pressure ratio and the say what should I say is that for the fan pressure ratio, whatever is the outlet pressure in that case. So when we will be designing a proper, I will be giving any problem. So it will be slightly different so that one of the things is unknown, so that you have only one way to calculate. Okay. There is no redundant data. In actual design, it has to be designed in such a way so that this, whatever is the expansion in the turbine, this is such that it exactly leads to the pressure that is equal to the turbine exit pressure. So you can either change the turbine outlet temperature or compressor ratio, or you have to do an optimization study and you can do that. But in this course, we will.
So we go in conventional way. By equating the work, we find T06 with fan, and then to find P06, we generally use isentropic relation. So that we don't have to do.
In that case, you don't have to do, but say that may lead to a different P06 in if you actually calculate the pressure. It's a good point. That may lead to a different P06. Okay, if you actually calculate the pressure based on that. Okay, so if the problem is designed properly, it should be such that P06 is consistent with the means is
P02. Voice is breaking, sir.
Whatever is the pressure P02. It is, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It can be also specifically mentioned that P06 is not equal to. In that case, you have to obviously calculate. Oh, internet connection is poor. Can you hear me still?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If I mention that P06 need not be equal to P02, then you have to do in the conventional way. You have to calculate T06, and from T06 you calculate what is the P06, and then the pressure ratio, you find P06. These two pressures will not be same. In that means they will not be at the same pressure. So there will be more vigorous mixing. There may be some pressure drop from here to here. If you see the book also, they have mentioned that like that in real life what happens, which we are not going to follow in this course because it is more complicated. Iterative solution is done, and it need not be that always P06 is equal to P02. Okay, so there can be a pressure jump or pressure drop, means gradually the pressure drops from P02 to P07. Not here, there is not much pressure drop, but this pressure actually can slightly drop and there can be vigorous mixing. So depending on what is the information given, you try to solve if the problem is given on this. Okay. But it can be designed in such a way so that they are same with a slight pressure loss, means 2 to 3% pressure loss from here to from P06 to P07 in real life because of mixing. So otherwise, you know how to calculate for the low pressure spool and high pressure spool. I have given the conventional way. So for the low pressure spool, you have 1 plus F into mass flow rate through this into CPG T05 minus T06 into mechanical efficiency this is equal to the work input to the fan, which is m dot h plus m dot c, because both the flow rates are passing through the flows are passing to the fan, into CPA T02 minus T01. So 1 plus F CPG T05 minus T06 eta M1 is equal to 1 plus B CPA T02 minus T01. Some other variable may be unknown in our problem. For example, both are known. Means I have given this and you can also calculate. Okay, so maybe F is unknown and you have to calculate F, or something else is unknown. Okay, it can be designed in any way. In the problem can be designed. Or say the bypass ratio is changed in a way. So bypass ratio can be, in real life, the bypass ratio can be tuned so these two are at the same pressure. Okay, because ultimately the specific work need not be specific work is same, but depends on the bypass ratio. Like what is the actual work required by the turbine to run the fan. If the bypass ratio is more, more work will be required. So by changing the bypass ratio, you can tune it in real life so that P02 and P06 are at the same pressure. Okay. So the problem may be that means if I ask a problem, I can give that bypass ratio itself is unknown. Find the bypass ratio. Then you have to find both the P06 from this calculation based on turbine work or something. There will be the bypass ratio will be unknown, but based by equating the work, you will get a relation like this where B is unknown and similarly, say T06 also will be unknown. Okay, T06 also is unknown, and then you have to use the relation, isentropic relation, which will give you another equation between P05 and P06. So two unknown will be there, and it should be possible to find. For the high pressure spool, again, it is just I am not going through the details. You can just balance the work output from the turbine to the work input to the compressor, which is work output from the turbine is 1 plus F m dot h CPG T04 minus T05 mechanical efficiency. It can be same or different. Almost it is similar, 99% around like that. Okay, is equal to m dot h CPA T03 minus T02. Okay, so this will give you the location of 0.505. The only difference in this case is the mixing process, where so I will just keep this diagram open, and it's just a very simple, means intuitive adiabatic mixing. So enthalpy is like you have to do an energy balance. We have got cut off while taking the scan. So H02, the total enthalpy at this point is plus the total enthalpy at 6 point is equal to the total enthalpy at 0.7. Okay. So if I write in terms of mass flow rate and specific enthalpies, so total enthalpy at this point is mass flow rate at this point, which is m dot c. Okay, mass flow rate which goes for the mixing. Not so it is only the m dot c which is going for the mixing. The other parts goes into the compressor at this point. So m dot c into CPA into T02 plus this H06 is nothing but m dot h into 1 plus f. This is the mass flow rate from the turbine exit. This is at condition T06 into CPG. Okay, is the enthalpy. This is equal to the final enthalpy. Okay, and for the mass for the final enthalpy, mass flow rate is m dot a plus m dot h 1 plus f, and this into multiplied by CP7 T07, which is the enthalpy at this point. So if you divide by m dot h, you will be left with bypass ratio B CPA T02 plus 1 plus F, CPG T06 plus 1 plus F plus B, CP7 T07. The CP7 is unknown, okay, because it's a mixture of CP of air and CP of combustion products. It is not very accurate to take the CP as CP of gas or CP of air. So what we should do in simple calculations like this, like when we are doing calculation for like courses like this, in real life you have to be more accurate. You have to calculate based on the temperature and heat rate. Yes, any questions? Someone's mic is on.
Sir, this in H,
Tell me.
sir, in this H07, we are doing that mass balance also na MA dot plus MH dot 1 plus F. This MA it will be MC na mass of cold.
Correct. I have wrongly written here. It's the correct point. Yes. This is m dot c. Okay. I will just keep it for my reference. Okay. Please make this correction. This is m dot c. Okay. This is wrongly typed. Correct point. That's why it is this is correct. Second equation is correct. That's why this is leading to this term B here. Okay, please switch off your mic. You have any other question? Thank you for pointing this mistake. So this leads to B, this m dot C by m dot H leads to B, and this m dot H 1 plus F by m dot H leads to 1 plus F. Okay. So this equation should give us the value of T07 if you know CP7. CP7 can be approximated for the simple cases by taking a linear mean. In real life, you have to actually find out CP7 by doing an iterative calculation. Means you have to assume some value of CP and find out the temperature based on that. Then based on the temperature in using actual tables and chart, you find the new value of CP, and based on the new value of CP at this point 7, again find out the new temperature. Like this you iterate until you get a consistent result. But for our calculations, we will just take a linear mean. So CP7 is 1 plus F CPG because that is the mass flow rate from this side, from the 6 side, plus B into CPA, that is the mass flow rate from the cold side, divided by 1 plus F plus B, which is the total mass flow rate. So once CP7 is calculated, you can also calculate R also in the same way. But anyway, we are taking R of gas and R of air is equal to R in our course. So it will be R only. Okay, if it was different, we could have calculated in a different way, means using the same way, but got a different value. And gamma you have to calculate. So gamma you can calculate from Cp. Gamma is equal to Cp by Cv. So because we have already calculated Cp7, so Cp7 by Cv7. Cv7 is nothing but Cp7 minus R. So like this we can calculate gamma. Gamma is required because you have to calculate this expansion process in the nozzle. So once you know these things, you can calculate T07 from the above equation. T07 can be calculated. Ignoring pressure losses, P07 is equal to P06 equal to P02. Okay. And then you do the calculation for the nozzle like you have done previously and find out the thrust. Okay. And if the nozzle is choked, you will have a pressure thrust. If the nozzle is not choked, you will just have the momentum thrust. So the thrust is m dot H into 1 plus F plus B. Okay, total mass flow rate through the nozzle into V8 velocity at this point minus m dot H into 1 plus B. This is the total mass flow rate at the inlet into VA. Okay, average velocity at the inlet. Plus, if there is some pressure thrust, you can calculate it. So before going to the next part, we will quickly go through some of the performance characteristics. But for the performance characteristic of turbofan, actually is very complicated. Means it has so many factors. It is much more complicated as compared to turbojet. We'll just get a very basic idea. And for the next part, so we will even not go into those details. We have understood how to calculate performance characteristic for any type of engines. And the main idea that we have got is that we have to do a design point calculation. So you have to calculate for a particular case, particular pressure ratio, turbine inlet temperature. In this case, the two more points will be there in the design point: fan pressure ratio and the bypass ratio. So considering this, all the 4 points as given or a fixed value, we can calculate the thrust, specific fuel consumption and specific thrust, and then change these values one by one to plot the graphs. Okay, same thing can be done for the other cycles also, and we will not go into those details. But for this case, I will show you some slides, and we will try to understand how these are generated, and you can also try to. I will give an assignment based on this. And let us go through this first. Let me take a break here. Okay, my throat is hurting too much. We have already exceeded more than 1 hour. And let me take a break here, and then we will continue. Can you hear me, or the network connection is still poor? Huh? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Means voice is breaking off, or is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay, good. So let us take a look at how the performance characteristics are generated for turbofan. Okay, and you can note these problems. It is there in the notes already. Like in the previous case, I have given 2, 3. I have already given one problem in the assignment sheet. One we have solved, and 3 more problems are there. Each of them is actually very long type of problem. Means, say this problem 5 may take you 1.5 hours to solve. It's a very long problem. So only you can just go through these 3 solved problems. Means try to solve them on your own. Okay, then you will have a better understanding. 1 or 2 new concept is also there. I was talking about the bleed factor. So that also you will be able to understand how to take into account the bleed for cooling of turbine blades. So some mass float is actually removed, and hence you should go through these problems carefully. Okay, 1, 3, and 5 from the chapter on turbofan. Okay, otherwise this chapter has lot of details. You cannot go through that because that is beyond the scope of this course. That book is for 2, 3 semesters, but you just go through these 3 problems along with the class notes. That should be sufficient. And whatever problems I have given as in the problem set, which I have uploaded today. You try to solve on your own and then check the answers. Okay. So let me just discuss about how these performance characteristics are done or developed in turbofan, in case of turbofan. Okay. So for turbofan, what are the important design parameters? Multiple times we have discussed. There are 4 parameters, right? The fan pressure ratio, overall pressure ratio. Instead of compressor pressure ratio, I can take overall pressure ratio. It's the same thing, analogous, means if one is known, the other can be calculated. So typically the overall pressure ratio is taken, the fan pressure ratio is taken, then the bypass ratio is taken, okay, and the turbine inlet temperature. So compared to our previous calculations, like industrial gas turbines or jet propulsion cycles, we now have 2 more parameters. Previously it was only compressor pressure ratio and turbine inlet temperature. Now we have the additional fan pressure ratio and the bypass ratio. These 4 are the design parameters. Apart from this, there are some parameters which are other, means depending on the flight conditions. So those are separate. Okay, so those are like flight velocity, flight altitude that we have previously discussed. But in terms of the basic parameters, these are the 4 parameters, and our aim always remains same. Aim is to find the specific fuel consumption. Specific here means thrust specific fuel consumption. This is from the book of Cohen-Rogers. Okay, so thrust specific fuel consumption and the specific thrust. Okay, thrust specific fuel consumption, specific thrust per mass flow rate. So what is done actually is that you do a design point calculation like the problem we have done in the previous class. That is a design point calculation where all the parameters were given to us. All the 4 parameters were given to us. Apart from these 4 parameters, the flight conditions were needed, that also were given. And what else is needed? That are manufacturing conditions, which are the efficiencies of the different components. Okay, so those are also like engineering or design input parameters in a design. Okay, based on other considerations like manufacturing. So once you have all this fixed, what we can do is for a overall, if you keep the overall, so first you just calculate for fixed overall pressure ratio, fixed bypass ratio, fixed fan pressure ratio, and fixed turbine inlet temperature. All the 4 points are fixed, and then get a result like we have obtained in the previous class. Okay, if all the 4 parameters are fixed, let me check what are. Overall pressure ratio was there, fan pressure ratio was given 1.65, bypass ratio was given, and turbine inlet temperature was given to us. Okay, So of keeping all these 4 parameters and based on other known conditions like flight condition or static condition, sea level. Okay, we found what is the specific thrust. We found actually total thrust. So from that specific thrust can be obtained, and the thrust specific fuel consumption can be obtained. Okay. So that calculation will give you 1 point. Okay, one data point. One data point means one value of thrust specific fuel consumption and one value of specific thrust. Now we can vary one of the parameters. So what is generally done is you vary the fan pressure ratio, keeping everything else fixed. Okay, if you vary the fan pressure ratio, keeping everything else fixed, you get a curve like this. Okay, so this is for a, so if you just consider this bottom curve. Okay, I hope you can see this. I will just make it full screen. Everybody can see the slides, right?
So this FCS is specific fuel third specific fuel consumption.
Which one?
FS.
Which one? No, SFC is the third specific fuel consumption. SFC is the third specific fuel consumption. They have not mentioned the T here. It is TSFC. Okay, it is. I am taking from the book, so it is mentioned there as specific fuel consumption. It is actually third specific because it is understood that it will be third specific fuel consumption because these are aircraft engines, not industrial gas turbines.
FS are total thrust.
No, it is the specific thrust. Okay, it is the specific thrust. It is mentioned in the book. So it is the specific. Total thrust is not very relevant because you can just increase the mass flow rate. Specific thrust is the important parameter, right? Which gives an idea about the efficiency. Means for the same mass flow. Yes. Thrust can be increased by increasing the mass flow rate, but specific thrust gives us an understanding whether the engine is working better or not. Because for the same mass flow rate, if you can increase the thrust, that is better. So for the same turbine inlet temperature, say small value of turbine inlet temperature, if you vary the fan pressure ratio, you will get a specific thrust like this bottom curve. Okay, and a specific fuel consumption curve like this. So there actually is an optimum point here. So these are actually complicated, so you cannot directly say how this is happening. I can give a brief idea. So what happens is that if you fix the overall pressure ratio, because if the inlet conditions are fixed overall, by fixing the overall pressure ratio, your compressor outlet conditions are also fixed. So the combustion chamber inlet conditions are fixed, and combustion chamber exit conditions are fixed if you fix the turbine inlet temperature. Okay, so the overall change in temperature in the combustion chamber is fixed, which means that the total energy input is fixed in these cases. So keeping the total energy input fixed, if you change the fan pressure ratio, what will happen is that, and overall pressure ratio if you keep fixed, if you have a very small fan pressure ratio, it means that the fan is generating very small amount of thrust. Means when you have a very small fan pressure ratio, in the cold nozzle, the thrust generated will be also very less because the pressure across the cold nozzle is very less, pressure difference. So the cold thrust is very less. Okay, and because the overall pressure ratio is fixed and fan pressure ratio is small, the compressor pressure ratio will be high. And as a result of that, if you calculate, you will see that the hot nozzle thrust will be higher, quite high. Okay, and the combined thrust will give you the whatever is the, like, based on the combined specific thrust, you can get the overall specific thrust. And if you keep on increasing the fan pressure ratio, the cold nozzle thrust will keep on increasing and the hot nozzle thrust will keep on decreasing. And overall thrust keeps on increasing because it becomes more and more efficient. Okay, it's difficult to explain exactly unless you actually plot the data. So what happens is that the overall thrust, means the specific thrust keeps on increasing. Okay, and reaches an optimum point, after which again it starts decreasing. The fan cold thrust will keep on increasing, but the hot thrust will keep on decreasing such that the overall thrust again keeps on decreasing. Okay. So in between, when you have a good amount of hot thrust and cold thrust, you get the highest thrust that is given by the engine. Okay. That is denoted by the dotted point here, circle here. And because the overall input energy is same based on these conditions, maximum thrust means that at the same conditions, it also is the optimum point for the fuel consumption. That thrust specific fuel consumption will be minimum at the same point. Okay, because for the same fuel consumption, you are getting maximum thrust. It means that specific fuel consumption will be minimum. Okay, so these optimum positions, or like the fan pressure ratio for this optimum point and for this optimum point are same. Okay, they are both at the same fan pressure ratio, means same vertical line. So for fuel consumption also same thing happens, means fuel consumption keeps on decreasing, which is good because thrust is increasing, fuel consumption is decreasing, and overall energy remains same, input remains same. Okay, so and then again it starts increasing. So now if you change the turbine inlet temperature, you can draw multiple curves like this. Okay, so for each turbine inlet temperature, you have to repeat the process. Means for each turbine inlet temperature, you have to change the fan pressure ratio and draw a curve. So for increasing turbine inlet temperature, you change the fan pressure ratio, draw a curve like this. And what is seen actually if you draw like this is that with increasing turbine inlet temperature, the thrust increases, the specific fuel consumption decreases, and then again keeps on increasing. Okay, and now we have seen the effect of two parameters, turbine inlet temperature and fan pressure ratio. Okay, we want to even see the effects of the other parameters. So what is done is, see, already it is getting complicated, quite complicated, because so many parameters are here. We already know the optimum conditions, optimum fan pressure ratio. Okay, so the specific fuel consumption, thrust specific fuel consumption versus specific thrust can be drawn for each of these points. Okay, for each of these points, the thrust specific fuel consumption versus specific thrust can be drawn. Okay, and if you draw it like this, you will get a curve like this. Okay, so we had 4 points here. If you try to remember the points, okay, try to remember the thrust is increasing. Each case the thrust is increasing. Okay, with increasing turbine inlet temperature. Fuel consumption decreases and then increases. Okay, so that is the behavior that we expect. With thrust keeps on increasing, specific fuel consumption decreases and increases. Okay, so ultimately you have multiple number of points, you can join them and you will get a curve like this. Okay, so this curve takes into account the optimum fan pressure and the variable turbine inlet temperature. Remember, each point here is a optimum fan pressure ratio and a different turbine inlet temperature. Now if you change the bypass ratio, you can draw, so this was for a fixed bypass ratio and overall pressure ratio. Remember, these are still fixed, overall pressure ratio and bypass ratio. Keeping the overall pressure ratio fixed, if you change the bypass ratio and do the entire process again, okay, run the both loops again and again. So each loop has another loop inside it. So it is like the third outside loop. Okay, one loop inside another loop, like inside another loop, like Inception movie. Okay, somewhat like that situation. So now if you change the bypass ratio also, you will get curves like this. Each of these curves can be plotted on the same diagram. Okay, so what will be seen is that with increasing bypass ratio, we get better fuel economy. Thrust specific fuel consumption is better. Okay, but at the cost of specific thrust. Okay, so this has a bearing in real life scenario where you want for aircrafts like long distance passenger aircraft, you need minimum specific fuel consumption. Okay, fuel economy is the most important part. I have said previous, I think a few classes back, that almost 50% of the total cost of running an airline depends on the fuel. That's why the fuel price, so airline losses are profits are very rare. So you can say just losses. All the airlines makes losses almost. The airline losses are dependent on the fuel, very sensitive to fuel prices. Okay, so if you can change fuel consumption even by a very small fraction, significantly get more money for other things like salary or other activity, or say even purchasing or leasing new aircrafts, things like that. Okay, so fuel cost is the most important cost. So for passenger aircrafts, you want minimum specific fuel, specific fuel consumption. So accordingly, you go for a very high bypass ratio. Okay, as the graph is showing here, you go for a very high bypass ratio. Typically, modern aircrafts have been, nowadays they are designing with 9, 10 like this bypass ratio. But the side effect will be that specific thrust will be lower, but that is of not much problem, because you can just make the engine bigger and bigger. It will obviously be more costly, but capital cost is not a big, means initial cost is not a big deal for a passenger aircraft. The running cost which is the main problem. So you can make a big engine, so cost will increase because the turbine blades will be longer, more number of basically length will not increase, but the cross sectional area will increase because you need more mass flow rate. For military aircraft, on the other, fuel consumption is not the primary criteria, but they need more thrust. Okay, for a typical type of engine, they need more specific thrust. Okay, so in those cases, they can operate at low bypass ratios. Okay, so that they get more thrust for a situation where you need very large amount of thrust, so that you can very quickly accelerate. Okay, so even without afterburner. So as a result, you operate at lower bypass ratio. So with increasing bypass ratio, you are going towards the low point, and you can connect these lines also to get an optimum point where the for a particular bypass ratio, or say for what is the optimum for a particular bypass ratio, what is the optimum point? Optimum point will give you the optimum value of turbine inlet temperature and the fan pressure ratio, because this point, remember, corresponds to a particular point here, and this point is corresponds to particular point, particular turbine inlet temperature and particular fan pressure ratio. Okay, because that graph was drawn like this. Now if you keep on repeating the same loop, okay, 4th time, by changing the overall pressure ratio, you can draw more graphs like this, which is not shown here or in the book, but you can generate these things several times. Okay, now inception loop going. So and then in that case, you will get the effect of, you will incorporate all the effects in a single curve, I mean single set of curves, or a single figure. All the effects, all the 4 important design parameters are there. So it is actually complicated unless you draw and plot and see what is happening. It's difficult to understand. Okay. So this actually concludes our turbofan discussion, and we have gone through quite comprehensively different aspects of turbofan, seen also one long problem and different configurations and 2 main types, mixed and unmixed types. Any questions on the turbofan? Otherwise, I will move on to the turboprop, which is the next part of the chapter. Any questions on these characteristics or these things?
Sir, for mixed condition also, we have to check the nozzle is converged or not converged. No, that's something.
Yes. 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 You have to check. Correct. For all cases, you have to check. Nozzle is not converged. No, nozzle is choked or not. You mean choked or not?
Choke.
All are convergent nozzles. Okay. So that we have discussed previously. So the third type of main type of passenger aircraft is the turboprop aircraft. Okay. Again, you might have already seen many times in airports, even in Bhubaneswar also. If you go, we have discussed also briefly, but you will be seeing 1 or 2 turboprops are standing, small aircrafts with large propellers on the wings. Okay. So these are for short distance flight. For short distance flight, why turboprops are used? This also we have discussed extensively, because for short distance flight, you don't have sufficient distance to accelerate the aircraft to a very high velocity, because you don't want to accelerate at a very large, say, acceleration. Otherwise, the passenger will feel uncomfortable. So, as a result, the acceleration is limited to around 0.1 g or less than that, and so it takes a certain distance to accelerate the aircraft to very large velocity, like just below the sonic velocity, and sometimes the distance is not sufficient. So what will happen is that even if you have a aircraft which is capable of reaching, yes,
अगर बनाया होगा तो दे नहीं सकता है.
please switch off your mic. Whose mic is it? बनाया होगा तो some mic was on. Okay. Anything. Anyway. So it won't have sufficient time to go to, even if the aircraft has the capability of reaching Mach 0.8, 0.9, the distance is not sufficient to reach that velocity. So you will not be able to use that capability of the aircraft. And what will be the loss? The loss will be that the exhaust gases from the aircraft will be at high velocity, of the turbofan engine will be at high, comparatively high velocity, and as a result propulsive efficiency will be low. So you want something where the exhaust gases, or we cannot exactly call it the exhaust gases here, but basically the exit air, or whatever air is there which is propelling the aircraft forward, is not at a very high velocity, so that the propulsive efficiency is higher, because you can only reach a certain intermediate velocity like 500 km per hour. You cannot reach 900 or 950 km per hour because there is not sufficient distance. So typically turboprops will operate at around 500 km per hour. Okay, cruise velocity, Mach 0.4, 0.5. So these are used for small distances, and you might have taken also, some of you, like if you board it, you will see that it's quite low, and you can clearly see the propellers if you are boarding from the. Generally, they will just board you from the back side most probably, and there will be 2x2 seating arrangement instead of 3x3 for the normal narrow-bodied aircraft. And if you take, I don't know whether you have taken large-bodied aircraft or not, where the seating arrangement is quite spacious, means 3 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2 or something, 3 plus 4 plus 3, like this is there. So which are used for international flights. And so in this case, it is very narrow passages there, small, and staircase is also very small, like the door itself may act as the staircase for the aircraft. So anyway, let us come back to our thing. So that is the main reason turboprops are used. When you have a very short distance, the efficiency is highest for turboprops and lowest for turbojet, and moderate for turbofan. So what is the working principle? As you can see here, there is a large propeller which is like a fan only, but it is much more larger, and it is not ducted. It is not inside the duct. In the turbofan, it was inside the duct. Here it is not inside the duct. It is outside. Very large, and
The number of blades are also more or less.
Number of blades are not more, but number of blades are actually should be less than the turbofan engine. Okay, so it is not clear from here. Let me see, some picture is there. Number of blades will be actually much less than the turbofan. Turbofan blades, the number of blades are more. Okay, here you can see like 6 blades are there for this Jet Airways flight. Okay, so but typical in comparison to, like, it is like a fan only, but with much more longer blades and twisted blades. Okay, and running at a lower RPM. As compared to the turbofan fan. Okay, fan used in turbofan, this is running at a lower RPM. Because they are long, the tip velocities will become very high, and you don't want very high tip velocity approaching sonic velocity, because then the flow around the tip will become supersonic, which can cause problems related to shock waves or turbulence. Okay, you want to avoid that. So this propeller is run by a turbine. So again, depending on the design, you can have one or more turbines, means multiple stages obviously will be there, which will be running the compressor. So if it is a two spool design, one turbine will run the compressor, second turbine will run the propeller. Okay. It can be a single spool design also, where one turbine is running both the compressor and the propeller. In this case, unlike the turbofan, there is a gearbox here to reduce the rotational speed. Okay, because this is too large, you want it to rotate at a lower speed as compared to the shaft. So there is a gearbox and a small loss associated with the gearbox, which is taken into account using something called gearbox efficiency. Okay. Other parts are similar, like so a very small amount of thrust is generated by the exhaust gases, but almost the entire thrust is generated by the propeller. Okay, and although the air pattern is not very well defined, you cannot exactly calculate what is the mass flow rate of air through the propeller because it is unducted, and you cannot also exactly calculate what is the pressure ratio across the propeller. But typically the bypass ratio is very high, means 50 to 100. If we actually examine and calculate, if we had been able to calculate the bypass ratio, it will be some value, very high value, near about 100. Okay, 50 to 100, very high value is there. So most of the air, because of the large size of the propeller, and that's also generates most of the thrust. Very minimal thrust is generated by the exhaust gases through the nozzle, because most of the work is extracted by the turbine for running the propeller itself. Okay, around more than 90% work is extracted by the turbine for running the propeller, and only very small amount may be there for expansion in the nozzle. So these are some more pictures. We have again seen this. I am just showing it. So turboprops like this. This is a very narrow body aircraft. Typical turboprops are like this. Air India has a lot of turboprops. SpiceJet also has few turboprops. Okay, Indigo I think is also purchasing a few. And this is how this rotates. These are also used sometimes for military aircrafts, which are not very high speed aircrafts but need lot of thrust at low speed. Okay, like when you heavy duty transport carriers, like which is shown here. Okay, you can carry, so it opens from the back. Many movies, all Tom Cruise movies has one scene like this, opens from the back and someone is sliding out or something is happening. So this type of aircrafts are also turboprops used for other applications. Like this is a VTOL aircraft, vertical takeoff and landing. So while taking off and landing, the propellers are facing upward to generate thrust, and then they can rotate for forward direction. They can be kept at any angle for maneuvering also, and as a result, they are very good because they don't need any say distance. Yes, any runway or distance. Some landing pad is needed, and they can land on aircraft carriers also very easily with a heavy weight. Means other aircrafts which can land on aircraft carriers has to be of very low weight. Otherwise, they will just exit the runway of the aircraft carrier. Other some atypical designs, means non-typical designs have been made, but not very popular, like this propeller at the back, because this causes stability issues and other issues are there. You are pushing something from the back, it is inherently unstable. Okay, if I pull something from the front, or if I push something from the back, pushing actually causes instability. So if you try to push a pen, you will understand. So with this brief introduction, we will jump into the calculation for turboprop.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, in turboprops, since the propulsion is happening from external side, will there be any sufficient time for mixing compared to that turbofans? Mixing at the exit, both at the nozzle.
No. Mixing is not calculated here, or not important, because a very small amount of air is actually passing through the core region. Okay, there is no, you don't have the external duct. Okay, in the previous case, you are getting confused. You have a proper well-defined duct like this. Okay, where there is a region in the duct where the mixing can happen for the cold flow and hot flow. Okay, because it is fully ducted, because that casing is there extending. Okay, that's why that mixing can happen. Here there is nothing like that. It is totally external, right? These are totally external. So there is a very small.
Sir, then why are we using propellers of very large radius? Why not which is equal to like turbo fans?
I don't understand your question. So if you use a propeller of the size of turbofan, then you will not be able to generate much thrust. The main thing for what is the main advantage? You have to think critically here. What is happening? What is the main advantage, or what is the main characteristics of turboprop? What is the exit velocity from the air from the turboprop? It will be low, quite low, right? So you need to move a very large amount of air to generate a certain amount of thrust. So you will need a very large amount of very large propeller size to generate a certain amount of thrust. If you want to make it smaller, if you want to make the propeller smaller in diameter, means like a turbofan, then again you have to then increase the pressure ratio to generate the thrust, and it will become turbofan only. Then what will be the difference with turboprop? Then it is, if you can make it. Yes, tell me.
Actual velocity is less. That's why we are increasing the mass flow rate.
Could not. Yes. Velocity is less. Velocity is less. So basically both are related, because you have the luxury of making it very large because it is not ducted. If it was ducted, you could not make it very large, right? Means ducted means the outside casing. Because there is no outside casing, I can make the fan as large as physically possible, means to the limit of stress and turbulence. So as a result, I can keep the exit velocity quite low. So because I can make the propeller large, I can keep the velocity low, and that is our main advantage. If we can keep the velocity low, we will not lose much kinetic energy to the ambient, and as a result our propulsive efficiency will be high at low flight velocity. So turboprops are most efficient aircrafts at low velocities. Okay, at say Mach 0.5, turboprops are much more efficient as compared to turbojets or turbofans. That is the reason, the propulsive efficiency. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the main difference is that here it is a very large, and there is no casing outside it. Okay, and there is no mixing also as a result. Like that part of air that goes inside the combustion chamber is very small. Okay, just sufficient so that it is whatever is needed to run the turbine, so that it can run the propeller. Okay, small as compared to the air that is flowing outside. Okay, 100:1 I am saying. So even if there is no mixing, because there is no well-defined space, this air can flow arbitrarily, but that contribution would be very small. If it is 100:1, that 1% contribution is not going to change much. Okay, so that's the thing. This propeller blades, by the way, can also change the angle. Okay, and it is needed for defined velocities, so that the angle of attack of the air is like the air flows smoothly through the blades and doesn't strike it at some angle. Okay, we will not go into those details here, but you should know that the angles can be changed depending on the aircraft velocity. Otherwise, what will happen? The air will impinge on the blades at a certain other angle, and it will not be able to generate that amount of thrust. So we will finish this.
There is no.
Yes. Tell me.
The momentum thrust, no momentum thrust is there in that core region, sir. Will there be something, because mass flow rate is less, so
it will be there, but it will be small. It has to be calculated. It will be there, but its effect may be 5%, 10% like that.
In the core region, momentum thrust and also the pressure thrust, if it is choked, that we have to find.
Pressure thrust will not be there, because in these cases, almost the entire in the turbine, the expansion is done to a very large degree, means so that the energy at the exit of the turbine is already quite low. So the pressure difference is not sufficient for most cases, or for all cases.
Choked.
Choked, yes. So it will be typically unchoked. like this difference in pressure won't be very high from P05 to P6. Okay, so it will be mostly unchoked. And this calculation is also slightly tricky. Okay, why is it tricky? We'll try to understand today. Because the airflow is not very well defined around the propeller. Okay, there is no casing. You cannot say what is the mass flow rate also. You cannot exactly calculate what is the work that is required for running the propeller. Like for the fan or compressor, we could nicely calculate Cp T02 minus T01, something like that we had done, right, into mass flow rate. Here it is not possible to do it like this. Okay, and we will see what is the problem with that and what should be the approach for solving it. Okay, so slides we have seen. So this is a schematic diagram of a two spool turboprop. There can be single spool turboprop also. We will see in a problem in the next class, and one assignment problem also I will give after studying the turboprop and ramjet pulse jet cycles, and suggest some more problems. So you have the large propeller which is schematically shown here like this. Then there is a gearbox here. Then this gearbox is connected to the shaft. If it is a two spool, this shaft is separate obviously from the high pressure, means the high pressure spool. This is the low pressure spool. If it is a single spool, this will be a single shaft. Okay, so in this case it is the inside shaft, and the outside shaft, the high pressure spool, high pressure in the high pressure turbine runs the high pressure the compressor. Okay, and the low pressure turbine runs the propeller in this case. So the states can be denoted as A outside before the propeller. After the propeller, exactly it is not very well defined, but at the inlet of the compressor, we can take some, like we can state this state as 0-1. Okay, 0-1 condition at this point, and then after the compressor it is 0-2. After the combustion chamber 0-3, after the high pressure turbine 0-4, and after the low pressure turbine it is 0-5. And then there is a nozzle, and from this you get the exit state as 6. Okay, is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is not the only way. There can be single spool also, as I was saying. Then there will be one single turbine. Okay, and I don't, let me see whether I have, we'll study in the next class, but I have a picture or not. Okay, I have a picture. A single spool, this is a single spool case, where single turbine is running both the compressor as well as the propeller using a gearbox. Okay, same turbine is generating the power for both the compressor and the propeller. So this is a single spool design. So we will study for this two spool design in this case, but a similar type of analysis can be done. We will do an analysis, and but similar type of analysis can be done for other configuration also. Beyond the scope of this course to go into too much detail, because each of them can be a big chapter, like itself turboprop. In that book, it is like a chapter. But if you see the other books like Cohen Rogers or Ganeshan book, it is just all the jet engines are part of same chapter, but they have not given too much details. Okay, so at least we are going through more details than the course permits, because these are very important to know. So the TH diagram will look like this. TH diagram is very conventional one. From A to 0-1, change is occurring, but exactly it is very difficult to say actually what is that. Like the change can be still be denoted, but the actual mass flow rate, what is going on through this, is quite difficult to calculate. Okay, as a result, you cannot calculate the work output. So after this change from T01 to T02 is the compression process in the compressor. So 02 to 03, 03 to 04. These are all standard. 04 to 05 in the turbine, and from 05 to 6 in the nozzle. And P6 is equal to PA in this case, because this pressure difference is very small typically. Not much velocity is generated in the exhaust gases. Okay. And because the propeller is outside, so I have written these points, what I have discussed. Because it is outside, it is not possible to directly calculate the thrust generated by the propeller or the mass flow rate of the air going through it. Okay. So what is the consequence of this? Because you cannot say what is the work input required for this propeller. Okay. If you cannot calculate the thrust, you cannot also say what is the work input required. This work input you have to equate to this work output from the turbine. So you cannot say what is exactly the work output from the turbine also. Okay. So you know the 0-4 condition, but you cannot find out what is the 0-5 condition just by equating the work like we were doing in all the previous cases. Here it is not possible to do it because you do not know what is the total work input required for the propeller, because mass flow rate it is very vague. You cannot exactly calculate what is the mass flow rate. Okay, because it's not a well defined structure, casing is not there. So as a result, it is not possible to calculate the value of the low pressure turbine exit condition T05. It is not possible to calculate. Okay, we will continue here for a few more minutes because we are running behind. Maybe 15 minutes. Finish this part. So what is done here? Okay. Or let us continue it into tomorrow. Also, we have a class, right? Let us continue it in tomorrow's discussion because I can continue this and also show you the problem. Then we will be able to finish the turboprop part in a nice way tomorrow. Okay. I think let us stop here today and we will continue this discussion in tomorrow's class. Okay. We'll do a derivation to see how actually it is taken into account and solve a problem to understand how to calculate for turboprops. And I will give you one assignment sheet also and suggest some more problems. Any questions?
Sir, if the R value pressure ratio is given to calculate 0-1 position from A.
Something has to be given. In real life, it is difficult to calculate, but in case you are solving a like well cooked problem, like in the exam I am giving, so I have to give some conditions so that I may directly give the condition what is 0-1 condition, or something has to be given. Okay, but in real life, you have to do a CFD analysis or some other calculation to find the point. But in our case, maybe directly 0-1 condition can be given to you or something like that. Okay. Actually, it does not change too much. Okay, the pressure ratio across the propeller is not very high, and particularly in the core region from where the flow is going through. If I go back to this slide, it's a good question. Always by mistake I click this. In this very narrow region, there is not much effect or not much change in pressure. Okay, so and you can see if you are careful that this is the inlet. Okay, I don't know whether it is visible or not. Very narrow region is there. Okay, air will enter. Okay, this here this small section you can see. This is the intake. Okay. It's a very small area, and because it is almost at the central part of the blade where the blade velocity is quite low, here also you can see the intake. Okay, there it will not have too much effect on the 0-1 position, almost similar to A position. Okay, so let me take the attendance. Tomorrow's class we will finish. We are running out of time. What can be done? We will have to go keep on increasing extra classes. More work for me also, more work for you guys also. Through no fault of us. Running out of